Thank you for tuning in to WDRB Media, the voice of the community, the only station giving you double the information and inspiration. You're listening to the Perky Collar Radio Show, and I'm your host, David M. Frankel, and this is my new co-host,
Tory.
And today we have a special guest. His name is Lance McBrayer, and he is the owner and founder of the Styled Man Box. Welcome, Lance.
Hey, David. How's it going?
I'm doing well. Glad we got our technical difficulties worked out this morning.
Yeah, no worries. I understand.
I appreciate your patience. So, Lance, tell us about the Styled Man Box, when you started it, and why.
Yeah, sure. I started the Styled Man Box, David, about a couple of years ago. It was after I had came back from a trip to the Netherlands, and there I had the opportunity to we were with some friends, and so he had these amazing suits on, and I was like, where do you get these suits from? And he told me that he had been getting them made. And so we ended up going to Amsterdam. Long story short, I go to this place and find that I could pick out my own material, my own buttons, my own lining, and everything. And I fell in love with that concept. So by the time I got back to the United States, I said I wanted to do a business very similar to what I just experienced. And then I received my suit 4 to 6 weeks later, by the way. And so I said I wanted to have that same experience for others. And so I began the Styled Man Box as just a way to sort of segue myself into the men's fashion arena. And 2 years later, I have the Styled Man Box, which is a monthly men's subscription box service. And so for $33.99 a month, a guy receives in the mailbox a box full of 4 to 6 different men's fashion accessories. So it could be like a tie, a pocket square, a lapel pin, maybe a pair of socks. It changes up every week, or every month, I should say. And they also have like some sort of gadget in there, like maybe a pair of sunglasses or a wallet or a watch sometimes even, as well as some sample products. So one sample product each month too. Could be like a beard oil or a face cream or, cologne, anything like that. In that way, it just allowed me to begin my segue into having what I currently have, and that is custom clothing for men too. So besides the Styled Man Box subscription service, I also now offer personal styling services and do like custom measuring and having guys, just like I experienced in the Netherlands, be able to have, their custom clothing sent to them.
That's excellent. Very good. So how did the suits turn out when you had them shipped to you? They fit you like a glove? Were they perfect?
They totally do. Yeah. So we have these very specific measurements that we take, and it allows us to get a really precise measurement. And so if we need to make any minor adjustments after we receive our first order, then we do that. But generally, it really is a fit that's really quite perfect for you.
That's excellent. So help me understand, the Netherlands trip is what inspired you to start the Styled Man Box, but it also inspired you to develop custom suits for people. So it's almost like you're trying to, is it basically 2 different businesses that you're building? Because I would think a subscription company alone would be a full-time job, trying to manage what you're going to put in there and find new products and managing the subscription. And then doing custom suits locally, I assume. Do you do them anything besides local, or
correct.
just the Boston area, or how?
Well, I do have a system where if they aren't local, that I can have them measured and have someone measure them for me through like use Skype or FaceTime or something like that, just so I can make sure it's done properly. But yeah, so you're correct. Actually, it is kind of 2 things in one, but it all sort of falls under the same umbrella of, just styling men so that they are able to easily and effortlessly upgrade their style.
So do you have a name for the custom suit side of the business?
Yep. So I actually partner with that part of it, just because of all the overhead that it would have taken for me to just sort of get that up and off the ground. Okay. So I partner with this company that many might be familiar with. It's called Hilburn.
Okay.
And so they've been around for about 10 years. Yeah. So I act as an independent stylist under, that brand. So it really works out really quite easy enough for me to be able to, work them both, because they sort of work in tandem with each other quite easily.
But my question is, can Hilburn handle Lance McBrayer?
I know, right?
It
I'm
might
not
be too much for
sure.
them.
But they've been doing pretty good so far.
They have.
And it's been working out really well. So yeah, I do these really cool events with my J. Hilburn side of the brand. And that is like we do like scotch and swatches or like bourbon and blazers, kind of like, catchy name events like that at luxury condo buildings or at, corporate offices so that guys can kind of, get a chance to have a little bit of fun, tasting scotch or bourbon while also, taking a look at our swatches and getting a chance to feel our fabric, see some of the patterns and the colors that we have to offer individuals. And so, yeah, it's really a lot of fun kind of event. So, yeah, we do that pretty often.
No, I can see you having a great time with that, just your personality and your flamboyant nature and so on and so forth. I think you'd have a great time and build quite a following, just knowing you.
Yeah.
And those of you
that
it
really
know,
is a blast. Yeah.
Lance and I have worked together for over a year now. He purchased my product called the Perky Collar over a year ago. So he's been a supporter of mine for a long time, and I've been working with J. Hilburn for about, probably close to 2 years. There's about 70 J. Hilburn reps across the country that sell the Perky Collar for me and give it away as a gift to clients as well. So I'm very familiar with both Lance and J. Hilburn. So it's nice that two of you have so-called married. And I love following you on Facebook and seeing all your videos, and just a hip guy. And I'm glad he was able to be on the show today and talk about his business. So help us understand, what did you do before the Style Man Box?
Yep. So I actually am a hairstylist by trade. So I've been doing hair, primarily women's hair, for
Tory needs a new
23
barber.
years.
If you can't see him on YouTube, Tory needs a new barber. He's bald. I'm just playing. Go ahead.
Exactly. So hairstylist and do some barbering as well. And so, I've been doing that for the last 23 years.
Wow.
And something that, I love doing, being able to, make women more beautiful than they already are. And so now with the Style Man Box, I'm able to sort of have a dual purpose in being able to work with both women and men in upgrading their look and, their confidence that comes along with, looking well, dressing well, feeling good about themselves. Yeah.
Sure. So technically, you're really running 3 businesses. Is that right? You're still cutting hair? You got the Style Man Box, and you're doing J. Hilburn events. Remember the show Living Color?
Kind of call me this. Huh?
Remember the TV show Living Color?
Yeah.
It's like, how many jobs you got, man? I'm a plumber, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer. Okay, you can save him. He has 4 jobs, 3 jobs. The guy's like, I'm just an electrician.
Exactly.
Oh, you can die because he only has 1 job. So Lance is safe from Living Color being cut and not being saved in the emergency room. So that's
exactly. My friends often term me like a serial entrepreneur, and so I have to say that I have to agree because my mind just always keeps going. But what I like to try to do is make sure that everything has some sort of connection, with it. And so even everything that I'm doing is basically, it all falls under, beauty and fashion. And so, those are 2 combinations that, people are familiar with and know that they oftentimes go together. And it sort of allows me to, take care of the whole person, if you will, from head to toe, basically.
Makes sense. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with this. Is Tory's first time co-hosting with me. He's a young guy, just graduated college, former NFL player, former college athlete, and just getting started, wants to get into broadcasting. As an entrepreneur, Lance, what kind of inspiration or what kind of guidance or advice could you give to our young Tory as to, if you wanted to go into broadcast, wanted to be an entrepreneur, just starting out, what's the hardest part, and what advice could you give him?
Yeah. Well, first of all, congratulations on your new journey, Tory, and I wish you all the best.
Oh, thank you.
And so what I would definitely say, is be ready to give it your all. Entrepreneurship is not for everyone. So if you feel as if, you're not willing and able to, work 70 plus hours a week, oftentimes, especially in the beginning when you're trying to get a product or a company off the ground, it really does take a lot of time. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And so you have to just be willing to put in that time. And I always feel as if I'm definitely willing to put in 70 hours for something that I'm building for myself, rather than 40 hours for anyone else, for anything. Because, you never know, in any scenario, how things will, end up. Maybe a company will go under themselves, or maybe they have to do a big layoff. It happens all the time. But with having your own business, things could happen too, of course. Many businesses, small businesses can go out of business, but at the same time, it's sort of up to you as opposed to, your life sort of being in someone else's hands. So as hard as you work is as good of a profit you'll make and a business that will be sustainable for many years to come. So just got to be ready to put it in. That's my number one thing that I tell people. Be ready to put in the work. And if you've been an NFL player and you've done some other things where you had to sort of push yourself already, then Tory, you're going to be on your way.
Oh, yes. I have a question for you. So how often do you follow your gut or follow the trend when it comes to fashion? Because, obviously you're a very creative person because you're able to put this product out and get people's attention. But how often do you follow your instinct, or where do you get your formulas from to put out this great product for men to wear?
Yeah, no, good question. I understand where you're coming from. So basically, I think it's a combination of both things. Like, whatever you do, trying to be an entrepreneur in, you have to make sure that you're passionate about it. Because if you're not passionate about it and you don't, really care, like if this could work or maybe it couldn't, whatever, you cannot begin with an attitude like that. Whatever you are doing, it has to be your passion, something that you feel strongly about, something that, inspires you and, lights your fire when you think about it or when you see it and when you're doing it. And then when you start from a point like that, then it's not really work. It's just sort of just kind of like having fun doing what you love doing. And so for me, when it comes to me, curating my boxes every month, I'm always looking for, what is trending in fashion for men in particular with the boxes. But also I take into account, like, what do I like? Because I am very passionate about fashion. And so it kind of allows me to easily sort of take that and, translate it into, maybe sometimes it has to be a little safer or calmer than I would definitely do, because I do like to make a statement with my own personal fashion. However, when I think about the, common guy or the general guy in general, then I make sure that, there's a nice balance there where it might push someone a little bit out of their comfort zone, but then also it allows them to be able to, still have enough of a, what's trending going on so that they stay modern looking and they stay up to date. So, yeah, I think it's a bit of a combination. Find your passion, what you're passionate about, and then when you, curate or put together anything, build anything, or sell anything, people will see that, like this guy is all about this. So this lady is, loving what she's doing. And so, therefore, that translates into them, trusting you and, being willing to sort of take your advice or take your product, whatever you have, or your service, and let you do your thing.
That's great advice. I think it not only applies to Tory, but any other entrepreneur out there, any other business owner out there, even someone that's working for themselves or working for someone else right now. I think everyone can relate to what you just said and relate to the guidance, because, again, if you don't have passion, it's really hard to get through some of the tough times. So that kind of leads me to my next question, Lance. Give me an example of a really tough situation you went through. You got knocked down, but it's not about the knockdown. It's about how you responded to the knockdown. Can you give us an example of a time where you weren't sure Style Man Box was going to make it, maybe a tough financial time, maybe a tough time cutting hair where it just, it seemed like you may have to go back to work for somebody else, but you got through it and it made you who you are today. Can you give us an example?
Yeah, sure. One example that I could give is probably about a year into started the Style Man Box. I had, taken out a little bit of a loan to try to do something that, I thought would, really help to market the Style Man Box a lot better. So I took that investment that I had and, put it into that sort of marketing idea that, was, as told to me would be, fantastic and great. It would work and give me so many leads, and those leads would then in turn turn to, clients and so forth. So I put out that investment, and it didn't work. It didn't happen. So it allowed me to be able to, take that still. And even though I was like, basically pretty down and out that, that didn't come to fruition as I thought it would, it still allowed me the chance to, just say, okay, well, Lance, you can't always depend on someone else to do something that, you need to get done. Sometimes you just have to do it. And so while I do totally believe in always, hiring a professional for someone or someone who knows, a particular segment of your business, I do believe that that's, valuable. However, at certain times, it might not always work out because oftentimes someone will hire someone to do their website, let's say. And months and months later, even I've heard stories up to a year or so later, the website still isn't up and running properly or doesn't look the way that they wanted to. But, they were, so bent on being able to, put their faith in this individual. But it doesn't always work out, right? And so you just have to still, dig in and say, okay, what's next? You just have to go to plan B, and then you have to have a plan C perhaps, and even a plan D. So, don't let setbacks, hold you back from, doing what you need to do. You've probably heard the old adage, a setback is only a setup for a comeback. Mm-hmm. And so that's the sort of thing that you have to always keep in mind, that there's going to be those times, both financially or just, creatively, emotionally, that, you just have a low point, but you have to just say, okay, you know what? Pick yourself up by the bootstraps and get to going again.
That's great advice, Lance, and I appreciate you sharing that. And again, I'm sure you know me by now enough I'm going to ask you to probe a little deeper. Not that you have to name names of the company you hired or what you did exactly, but can you give us more details? Because I think the value and the lesson is in the details. For example, if it was me, I'd say I invested in Facebook ads for a month and I spent all this money and didn't get the engagement or the sales as a return. Not saying Facebook ads are bad, but the ad I ran was not a successful one. So could you give me an example of what you did that didn't work without naming names or company if you hired a company or a person if you hired a person? Just give us a little more detail and specifics on what happened and kind of why it didn't work or what you learned from it.
Yeah, like I said, continuing what I was saying about this particular company that I had hired.
What did you hire him to do?
It was a marketing company.
What did you hire him to do exactly?
Say it again.
Did you hire him to build a website or hire him to do social media for you?
No. For me, it wasn't a website. I had actually learned quite some years ago that, there are a lot of platforms out there like Shopify, BigCommerce, or other website developers that you kind of do it yourself.
Right.
That, to me, it's always been valuable for me to take the time to learn how to do that myself, because
sure, it's your baby.
Waiting for someone else to do, to put up a new product or to change wording or to do anything like that on your own website is like so aggravating.
Sure.
And so while not everyone might have the technical ability to actually handle that, if you can have someone close to you, that can actually, put you on one of those types of websites as opposed to someone, kind of maybe building this from scratch. I mean, and I hate to say that because I know a lot of web designers out there might be like, that's not true, that's not fair. But, it's just been some experiences that I've had where, that was just such a bad, hold up that I just said I'll never do that again.
Right.
But what I did do, it was something that I hadn't done before, and that was to hire a marketing company that, promised that they would, get a lot of traffic to my website. That was one of their things that they were designed to do.
Okay.
They were going to do some, SEO work where, it would optimize, my showing on Google and all this. They were going to also, they promised, quite a good number of leads that they would find, and then, assist in, turning those leads into, viable customers.
Okay.
And so those are just a few of the things.
Sure, that makes sense. And how long did you give them to get this to happen?
Yeah, I was thinking, I said 6 months,
okay.
Or so. I should be able to see some sort of change or
sure.
some sort of improvement, some sort of, gain from it. And so after 6 months, I still, saw nothing really happening.
Right. So they built the
Nothing
website
worth
for you.
the
Their
money
job was
that I was putting out. Yeah, because, I wanted to be fair and, give it, a good amount
Sure.
of time. In my estimation, 6 months was, a good amount of time to, give them a chance, if you will. And it just didn't work out. You know
Makes
what I
sense.
mean? So I just had to, just say, oh, well, and at least I tried. But then now I just know that I'm going to have to just, really be much more proactive myself again in terms of how I, go about my marketing and even, advertising, as you were saying, through like Facebook ads and so forth. There's so many companies that promise you, such a great return through
Sure.
doing Facebook ads. And so you just have to be able to, say, well, what can I do? Or, maybe just find another direction.
Sure. So that website that they built for you never came to fruition. That's not the website you're using today. Is that correct?
No, that was like 20 years ago when I was using it for my hair salon website.
I
So
see.
I learned that lesson a long time ago. But
Okay.
my website today, with the styledmanbox.com, I actually did build that myself. Also, my new hair salon website that I did, hairsessionsinc.com, is something that I've done myself too. And like I said, when I need to make changes, I can just do it automatically. And it didn't, there was a learning curve in trying to understand, the platforms that I was working with.
Right.
But I just feel in the long run that it's always, worth the time that you have to put in initially.
Sure. And for the audience, again, tell us a little slower the name of the website for both websites, the styledmanbox.com.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Yep.
And the second one was
it's
what?
The styledmanbox.com.
Okay.
And Hair Sessions with an S Inc. INC. So hairsessionsinc.com.
hairsessionsinc.com. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, Lance, I have a few questions for you because I'm coming from the sports world, and I want to ask you, like, who are some of your favorite athletes you like to watch dress up or do post-game interviews, like, their style? A guy like Russell Westbrook, in the NBA, or Cam Newton. What do you think of their style and how they dress themselves?
That's a great question.
Yeah. You know what? So let me tell you first, I'm not a huge sports fan. I do, watch football and I love the Patriots, but, that's kind of the extent of my, sports arena. But I will mention that, man, the question that you have, the first person that came to mind is actually man, I can't think of this guy's name.
Was it football,
But
basketball?
he's the not the boxer, but the fighter.
Floyd Mayweather? Conor
He's a
McGregor?
Caucasian guy. He has like a mustache, just super sharp. Oh, I can't even think of his name right now. But anyway, he has a style that I just think is, it really is sort of like old school, with a modern twist. I can't think of this guy's name.
Well, with you being in Boston.
But yeah, but I do feel as if a lot of, of the sports players nowadays are really, upping their game, and I'm loving it. I love to see it, them looking totally, dapper and, just taking the style of their clothing, to a new level and making sure that it kind of makes everyone else have to do it too, so.
Yeah.
So loving it, yeah.
I'm going to ask you about one of your hometown heroes, Tom Brady. He's married to Giselle.
Okay, all right. Yeah, Brady's a sharp dresser, he is.
So how would you rate him, the way he dresses? UGG is one of his biggest sponsors, but I think he should come over and give you some business, it make himself look better.
Yeah.
How would you fix up Tom Brady if you could?
Yeah, let's see. On a scale of 1 to 10, I guess I would put Brady at 7.5, 8. He doesn't push the scale in terms of like what he's doing and making you always go wow. It's just that he looks very clean. It's very tailored. It's very put together. Nothing that wows you though. But so yeah, I'll put him at like a 7.5.
Okay. Well, you think you'll be able to get that hoodie off Coach Belichick and put him in the Taylor suit?
Man, I don't think so. I only have so much influence. I believe, I wouldn't even be able to get him to, crack a smile, let alone, try to change his style.
It's worth a shot. We got to make that happen.
Right.
If we get him in a dress shirt, it'd be a step in the right direction. Now, I want to go back to Tory's other question. What could you do to Tom Brady to make his dress better?
You know what?
You're his Jay Hilburn stylist. He came to you and said, Lance, I heard you're the best in Boston. Make me look like $1 million. So, Giselle? Is that right?
Yeah. So
Giselle just can't keep her hands off me. What do you recommend?
Right. I think the number one thing that comes to mind for me with him would be just to give him some patterns. Not necessarily so much more color. It doesn't need to be like anything more, wild in terms of color, but maybe just some pattern mixing. He always sort of has like a dark suit on that, is just kind of like, monotone in his, accessories and so forth. So just mix it up a little bit more with some patterns. Maybe if it's a patterned sport jacket with a plain, pair of pants or whatever, then that would just give it some more interest. It doesn't have to, I wouldn't push him completely out and change everything about him, but just maybe, adding some pattern in there, I think would just give enough, new interest, just like, oh, look, no, Tom's stepping it up, So, yeah, that's where I would go.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, I hope he's listening. Hopefully someone that's listening or watching this YouTube video can tag Tom Brady, and he takes Lance McBrayer's advice at heart. And post-game interview on Sunday after the game, hopefully will be a new and improved Tom Brady thanks to Lance McBrayer. And hopefully Tom even tags you and says, thank you, Lance, for the great fashion tips. And as a result,
all right.
Giselle and I's relationship has gone to a whole nother level.
Yes.
Hope he gives you props, Lance. Well, Lance,
yes, what'd you say?
I said, I hope he gives you props.
Right, exactly. How much does it cost?
No, I says I hope he gives you props. So he gives you credit for helping him look better.
Oh, right, yeah. You hope he gives me props. Sorry, yes, yeah.
Well, thank you, Lance, for being on the show. Again, anyone that's interested in learning more about the Styled Man Box, it's just the styledmanbox.com. You've been listening to Lance McBrayer, owner of the Styled Man Box, and now a new Jay Hilburn rep there in Boston, can help you out. And I'm your host, David Frankel. You're listening to the Perky Collar Radio Show. My co-host today is Tory Gurley, and you're tuned in to WDRB Media, the voice of the community, the only station giving you double the information and inspiration. We'll be right back after the break.